My portfolio presentation, basically I'm going to talk about two projects. The first one is a museum app, which will focus on the design part. The other one is Snap app, focus on the development process. And then I will use a little bit more time to talk about a couple minutes to talk about an animated conversation feature in my portfolio site in in depth. So then the last part is a conversation, is a Q&A and a discussion session. So design for me means purposeful, inclusive, which is think about others' needs, people who have physical challenge, and design should also be innovative, which I can use some of my previous preference experience uh, to introduce new ways of doing design. So the best way is to use a project I worked on. It's museum map redesign for National Museum of African American History and Culture, and I'm going to go over the whole design process from the context and then personas and user flow, and then the design um, of wireframes and prototyping the final delivery package. Okay, first, context. So the main um, challenge is to enhance the visitors museum experience. And first of all, it's a redesign of a current existing application. So of course, it need to meet the existing app perspective. It should be a complement to the current on-site experience, help the user visitor discover the stories, and also its integration of multiple features like video, audio, and information about exhibition and events. And the other main challenge is to perfect the museum vision. It's a higher level of for few to see um, the meaning of the application. So it should be explore the histories or interactive exhibitions and also um, convey some American values to the audience and to engage more audience outside the DC area, which means like maybe create like a sense of community for people who use this application. And then I think about with those like higher level philosophy in mind, and then define the scope of the work and also scheduling how much time I spend for each phase, starting from the research and to take a look at the existing product analysis, the user demographics, and then to conduct some on-site user interviews. And then goes to the next design phase. It's pretty standard from information architecture and then user flow and wireframes. For prototype and testing and design package is the final things I need to focus on. And this is a list of tools I'm used for the whole design process, like flow map in Adobe Suite, and Adobe XD is my main tool for this design application. Okay, so the context, this is like a library or like a ideation board for me to take a look at the current um, applications, including a mobile app. This is a current one, and this is three image screenshots of a current website. Just get a sense of the typography and the general layout and the color they use for the existing website. Um, and this is I kind of abstract the existing app to use only black and white wireframe to get an idea of the gist of a better understanding of the existing app. And this is a little bit creative, why I say innovative. So this is a diagram for we are called bubble diagram in architecture diagram. It's pretty um, it's like the bubble is different program. We show the relation of the different programs and then connect to each other. If it overlap, means they have some corridors or connection between those two areas. So I borrowed the bubble diagram idea into the analysis of existing app. So you can see I use more like emphasize the circle to representing the most important features and pages, and to highlight some important sub menu for the home page. And then understanding user. So user research consists of two parts. The first part is to research online to find the existing app, how the rating look like, and how many people reviewed, what their comments, and find some interesting facts from those comments. For example, like people complain about downloading the app take a lot of time. And the other part is on-site interview. I interviewed 31 people, and this is a part of the result. And like the top 3 reasons of using is because of the audio features, search events, and the handy information while you visit the museum. And that's also top 3 reasons of not using. They don't even know it exists, or they only need a physical map grab from the information center, and the download is time consuming. Okay, personas. So this is 2 main personas a developer for this application. One is focused on the middle-aged group, and the other is the young people. So for this presentation, I'm gonna focus on Alex, which is a graduate student from Seattle, and he's enthusiastic about history and major in education. He would like to spread the knowledge to a broad audience, and also have interest in technology. And this is Alex's story. Basically, Alex, playing a visit to this museum, and he saw a poster, and he's interested in technology. He saw it could be a good tool for him to enhance his overall museum experience. So he downloaded and he used the feature, and while, still hesitate to become a member of it. And afterwards, he find the newly added feature about create a profile and communicate and can share to other platforms. So this is the Alex stories. So this is like a general, like a theoretically series. I'm gonna kind of guide me to think about the application in theory, and all this text actually is helpful for me to kind of use text to convey the idea of the final delivery package. And also, this is a ranking of the key attributes, starting from the audio, explore, search, and map, and other things. So I think it helps me to prioritize what key screens I need to develop for this application, and what is others' focus. So this is a fun photo I thought would like to share. This is like a general setting for how I design this application. Just reminds myself, you are not your user, and you should put yourself into the user's shoes. So this is 2 primary personas I put in front of me. I think it's fun to share. Okay, then the user flow. So this is again the bubble diagram. It helped me to generate this information architecture. This is a current one. You can see the structure is pretty flat. So it has a lot of things going on under only one major menu, and this is other thing. The yellow is the existing application, and the blue one is the website. So I think the new application should combine some feature from the website, also based on the user's research. So I did this combining 2 existing application products. So, and then this is after the yellow one is existing features, and the pink one are newly features I thought could add it to this application based on the research. Okay, so again, based on the Alex story, I developed this user flow just to give the idea of what is the key screens I need to design for the following wireframe and prototyping phase. Okay, for wireframes. Again, this is the information architecture diagram, and what I did is to divide this big diagram into biteable chunks, and to use this ideation board to use graphically represent my idea of each section. And the red is newly added, and the yellow is existing. So again, this is a wireframes. This is some guides to show the compare what's the difference between the current one and the after one. Basically, all the navigation is accessible by one hand, and I enlarge the photos, make the content standing out. And this is a category, and you can it's more organic and structured and divided into different categories. And this is the map. This is the explore section. So again, to most of the navigation is on the bottom, and then the content kind of is a larger and play the main role. And this is the welcome page. They don't have this. I added this because it's considering the user experience, to let the user kind of feel the vibes or of the. And then the profile, pretty straightforward, is also a new feature I added, and user can browse their saved events or their favorite stories, objects, or exhibitions, or audio. And also there's a share feature. You can just share to other platforms. And prototyping. So this is an existing website, so I basically learned the color system and the typography they're using, and also this is the design system I'm using for prototyping. A UI library, and basically I picked 3 representative ones to show the interaction look like. So prototype, this is the welcome page. Welcome animations, login, sign up. This is the home and menu. The home page, swipe left and right, and menu. Search and map has suggestions, and the map, different floors, zoom in, zoom out. You can see your favorite marks. Okay, explore again to see what the existing about. The layout is grid and profile. Okay, so delivery. The final delivery first is the app flyer for the marketing use, and then the name tag and the wristband. The color is I'm thinking more like a shining purple, has light, more bright purple. And this is the idea of the logo. Basically, this is the shape of the building. It's a famous building architecture, and then I combine with a panel which is made of brown, inspired by Asian and African culture, and combined into the logo idea. Okay, the second one is a snap app, which is focused on the development. So for me, development means functional, creative, which means we need to think about the chunks of code, how to optimize it, and also which means involving this development need. The final production code needs to go over rounds and rounds iterations. And Snap App is application. I'm going to talk from planning and then design, implementation, and deployment. My focus will be the implementation this time. So first of all, planning. Okay, so I'm inspired by my experience working as an architecture designer. So in the client meetings, this conversation happens a lot. Basically, the client having trouble articulating which building is in their mind. So that's the pain point. And the solution is we just need a place to store memory and share with us, right? So I tend to usually in the beginning I know sketches and just get a brainstorming and talking with others. So basically, what I need is a photo sharing platform and the target users, people who love architecture, and the main features consists of share, navigate, you know, architecture and a play. So the last three are some features I think it should the application should beyond the solution. Um, just for people to see where it is located, maybe to learn more knowledge about the specific architecture and potentially could get inspired to plan a visit. So this is the technology stack I use for this application. Front end is a React, and the reason why I chose React because it helps to create a highly interactive user interface, and it can smoothly transfer into the mobile devices, highly responsive, and for the backend, I use the Node.js and Express.js for build a REST API, and the database I use MongoDB. There's not a lot of data relationship between the. It's not a really complicated application for the database, so I use MongoDB, which is I'm familiar with. So for the design, yeah, again, the design happens really fast. So this is a collage example. Collage is like a way of we, as an architect, we kind of use pieces of art, we combine each other and to generate the potentially like a final rendering of the final product architecture. So I borrowed this idea to kind of rapidly generate my app would look like, combining with my sketches and some thoughts. And the wireframe and prototype based on the collage and happens. We follow the MVP, minimum viable product. The style is a minimum. The most important thing at this stage is to have a viable product to be functional. So pretty simple. Okay, before jumping into application, I would like to talk about the design system. I have like a personal library. Basically, it consists of typography, color, and shadow, border, radial, white space, and response. Basically, I just grab what I need and translate it into the CSS file for this application, and it can be translated into a cheat sheet, and also some variables for the CSS and also a template. So implementation. Um, the the whole process. This is my sketch again. So this is my notes again. So this is the roadmap for this snap app from front end and back end, and then connect the front end to back end, and two features I saw. File upload I put in the end because it's involving both front end and back end. So yeah, and I'm going to focus on the front end and back end. So for front end, first of all, React basically is a React itself and React route down, and so I design the different routes first of all, and for different routes has different features, what they can do, and the other important things are components. So components consist of two, core and shared. Core is some customized component for specifically for the snap app, like the users and the snaps. So for the shared one, again, like navigation is pretty standardized, so I just tweak a little bit and adapt those components into this snap app. So the shared components in navigation, form elements, input buttons, and UI elements like car, model, backdrop, and this structure also helps me to generate the file folder, the folder structure for the component for the front end, and the style and the responsive again. So I adding the style sheet instead of using the CSS model. It's because I use the BEM methodology. I can basically know how I style each component. And the responsiveness, the layout using grid and flat, and of course relative length units. So device is thinking about like a mobile first design methodology. Think about what your app would look like in other devices. And the state management is the first challenge I'm facing in the front end because you need to differentiate the different state and use different hooks. So for a single state, of course, use state. Is it loading or set token? Is a side draw open or not? So for multiple states, I create a custom hook. So the most use case is the form. So to sign up a user or create or update the Snap form, and I find the custom hook has another potential benefits. You can just add your own features, your functions, and to handle those import or set the form data. So for the app-wise state is I'm using the create context basically for authentication to tell the whole application whether the user is logging or not, control certain access to certain components. So the REST API, I use Postman to test the API, and API. First of all, is to design the API endpoint to do those different HTTP verbs, and and the struct architecture. I follow the MVC, of course. Here we don't need V, so it's just the models and controllers to developer to implement different functions in those two controllers to manipulate the Snap model and eventually control the front end. So for the server-side validation, I use Express Validator as a third-party package. And it's just more, pretty standard. Okay, the last part is the Google geocoding API because I need to analyze the user input the address to translate into longitude and latitude, and then work with the Google geocoding API. So for the database, I have two schemas or two application data model, which is user and the snaps. First, the most important thing to figure out the relation between those two data. So the one user should own multiple snaps, and one snap should only belongs to one user. So there's a way of doing relations between MongoDB to use the ref attitude. So for the user schema, I have this information I needed, and for the snap, I have this information I needed. How to play with it? Just CRUD operations, right? Okay, so now is to connect the backend to the front end. Basically, in the front end, I send an HTTP request to add those coding snippets into the component, and then I receive the responsive data and interact with my interface, update my interface accordingly. Also handling some errors from front end and also the loading state for a better user experience. Another feature about the image upload, I use the JavaScript plain file reader to build the new component image upload and handle images for the front end. I just send the file and store backend, which is a server, and save the string, the path information into the MongoDB, and with the help of a third-party package motor, and also connect the user to images Okay, so authentication and authorization. Basically, the first part is to hash your password with the help with the bcrypt I used, and for the tokens to control certain access to certain pages, JSON Web Token, and add authorization. Okay, deployment. It's pretty standard, and figure out the environment variable for the front end and back end. And API never stores some credential. information in the front end, of course, and then the API keys and the credentials, building the React app, thinking about the lazy load for a better optimization for the performance of the application, and also to figure out the index HTML description, fav icon for SEO purpose, and deploying. I use Heroku for the REST API and GitHub page for the React SPA. Okay, so this is a video, 2 minutes, and to share with you to see the final product.